Hi guys, welcome. I'm doing another chapter in care guide on advanced corn snake husbandry. As you can see, this is Alurmi here, and she's going after. She's going to go up on the glasses. Snakes love glasses. Unfortunately, I don't have any hair anymore. This is my COVID-19 cut, but she would love playing in my hair, and she'd use the glasses to get up in my hair. But snakes love glasses. That's a known fact. So if you're wearing glasses, the snake will gladly climb on it. I'm kind of worried right now because last night when I was handling her, she pooped on me. I know they only poop like once or twice a week, so I know I'm probably pretty good. But I still worry about like moments like this when like the cloaca is like in front of my face. I do not want to get pooped in the mouth. But I think I'm gonna be okay this time. Anyway, what I was saying is, I'm just going to do another installment of Advanced Corn Snake Husbandry, and today we're going to talk about when you get your new snake, when you get a new snake, or your first snake even. More so, like how to make sure the snake is going to be calm and relaxed and getting introduced to into the new environment that you're bringing it to. You can get snakes directly from the breeder via the mail, or you can do a pet shop. Well, especially pet shops are resellers, so that has its own little problem. But generally, pet shops do pretty good because they have a reputation to protect, and so they're generally pretty good. It's the people who don't have reputations to protect that you have to really watch out for. You can also get snakes from expos, and this is often the breeder will be selling the snake directly to you at an expo, and sometimes you get breeders who get together and like you get people who resell at expos. Like they'll get snakes from multiple different sources, from like being like private collections, or people who accidentally bred their snakes, like breed their snakes, and they just resell the hatchlings, but they don't want to deal with it themselves. So you get that at expos too. But let's talk about the buying directly from a breeder and have a snake shipped to you, or buying from a pet store, because believe it or not, they're both pretty stressful at equal. And I would say the pet store can even be even more stressful, because when you think about, let's look at it this way: when you have a snake shipped, yeah, it can be jostled around, it can be flipped upside down and whatnot, and may get like bumped around inside the box a little bit. But that's only for one day, and it's generally doesn't happen too often, but it can happen. But that's generally only one day. Versus like a pet shop, stress is accumulative for people and animals. So the longer you experience the stress, the more impact it has. So in a pet shop, you're gonna have people coming in and out, looking at all the animals. Really, you're gonna have the animals seeing other animals that might be territorial and whatnot. Now, I mean, they're not gonna be in the same enclosures, and snakes are pretty good about not being territorial and whatnot. But I guess I'm getting on a tangent because I'm talking about like stuff like lizards and stuff that will do displays at each other and whatnot. But you get people who are like tap on cages and whatnot, even though they know they're not supposed to be doing that. People who just want to see the animals, and that can be a problem for stress building with the snakes. So pet stores can be even more stressful, and pet stores are not always straightforward about how often the animal feeds. I mean, you get mice, hamsters, like you get your rodents, you get your dogs, cats. Yeah, they'll eat when you give them food. Lizards sometimes won't eat if they're getting stressed out, but they'll munch on the salads and whatnot, or the little insect feeders that you give them. They'll generally eat them eventually, pretty quickly. But snakes, if they don't feel like eating, they're not going to eat. If something's stressing them out, they're not going to eat. So pet stores may not be getting successful feedings with the animals. So it's something you have to keep in mind. So there could be stressful factors with pet stores. So between the two, I'd probably go with shipping, getting animal shipped to me rather than a pet store. Though, when you ship an animal, when you have a pet store, at least you have a chance to look at the animal and inspect it beforehand. But we'll get back into that. So, when you are getting a new snake shipped to you, first thing you want to do is pick out where you're going to put the snake. Like, which room are you going to put it in? I am kind of a preference to putting snakes in studies, offices, a library, someplace that people are going to be not very high energy in. That's going to get, lights off at night and like going to get, maybe natural light during the day. So that's going to be probably your ideal places for snakes. Other places that might be useful, might be good as hallways, especially if you don't mind keeping the light off at night in a hallway. So like you step out of your room into the hallway. It's kind of has that twilight thing. So at night that's fine. You have the lights on in the room that you're going to. So the hallway is kind of dark. That's great. That's great for a corn snake. And especially if you have light during the day, maybe there's a window in the hallway. Great, you have a natural light source, and this you're gonna want to pick rooms that the lights go off at night, but there's light during the day. Those are going to be your ideal rooms to put a snake enclosure. Bedrooms are not great, but often that's where we end up having to put our snakes. So, but bedrooms will work. You just have to keep in mind that you're committing to having the lights off most of the time at night, or at least using a dimmer light at night. Therefore, it doesn't bother the animals as much. So, two things. That's one thing you want to consider. Other thing you need to consider is making sure your enclosure is already set up. So, you want to make sure your enclosure is pretty escape-proof. These tote boxes I use are the 37-quart Sterilite gas seal boxes, and I of course have to add the air holes and whatnot. But these are escape-proof. Like, as long as I remember to latch down like 3 out of the 6 buckles, nothing's going to get out. So these are escape-proof. They're perfect. But let's talk about setting up the enclosure. So you want to. So I'm not going to get into like what needs to be in the enclosure because as is not important for this video. Yes, you want to make sure like you have water bowl, multiple hides, maybe a little bit of like leaf litter type stuff. Like I use vines, and they provide a nice cover for the snakes and whatnot. So just make sure they have plenty of stuff to hide in and climb on if they want to climb. Water bowls that are appropriately sized. But the main thing you're going to want to do is make sure your thermostats are set up right. So, and use your temperature gun to make sure that your temperatures are good inside the enclosures for the hot spots, cool, and a good temperature range. You also want to make sure that the humidity is not building up too high, because you can do 65% humidity without a problem, and you can even spike up to 85%, like for a day or two. Like if you have like this really humid day outside, like that's fine. But you want to make sure it doesn't get past 65%. If your humidity is higher, I think your temperatures need to be higher to help compensate for that. But your humidity can also be as low as 40, as low as 40%. Generally at the 40% and lower, you want to start looking at putting in humid hides for the snake to stay. This helps with the snake's skin more than anything else. I don't think low humidity bothers corn snakes, but don't quote me on that. I could be wrong to if it bothers the lungs or not. But you definitely want to, if it's comfortable humidity for you, it's probably comfortable humidity for the corn snake. So just make sure your humidity's good. Make sure you have humidity sensors in there. I use multiple humidity sensors. And make sure your temperatures are good. Use your heat guns. That's very important to make sure your temperatures are great. Let's see what else you want to do. Yeah, so just make sure your enclosure is set up and ready to go. You want to make sure you have an exotic pet vet ready and picked out. You want to make sure that they're familiar with snakes and And hopefully, if you're dealing with the type of like if they're familiar with corn snakes, then they're going to be. Why are you hiding? Like, if they're familiar with corn snakes, and that's great. Then they'll know like about them pretty well, especially if they keep them themselves. Not all vets keep the animals that they're familiar with. Actually, most probably don't keep most of the animals that they're familiar with when it comes to exotic vets. But corn snakes, but if they're familiar with corn snakes or colubrids, then you're probably pretty well off. Even though exotic pet vet may be familiar with snakes, they might just be familiar with pythons, because ball pythons are very popular pets. So that's something to keep in mind. So make sure you have a exotic pet vet picked out beforehand, especially if this is your first snake. The body, I corkscrewed your body, didn't I? That is gotta be uncomfortable. I know y'all don't like that. There we go. Let me see if we can just readjust. Yeah, see that loop? That loop has to be poked all the way down the body. So this one's getting ready to shed, and as you see there, that's a piece of shed flicking out. So she might be starting to shed real soon. But she's still going to be handled because she's not actually in blue. Anyway, I digest. No, the snakes digest. Takes them 3 days. Takes them 2 days most of the time. Anyway, so you want to make sure you have a good exotic pet vet picked out. So those are going to be, and I always say it, and make sure you have like $100 extra, just in case you decide you need to get something real fast. Like $100 extra will go far on getting a new snake. You may not need it. Hopefully you won't need it. Hopefully you remembered everything. But if anything came up, $100 extra is really, really useful to have. Alright, so you picked out your pet. If you're at the pet store, then you're going to be inspecting the pet, making sure that it's going to be healthy, and you're checking for kinks. You're going to check for scare rod around the mouth and on the belly. You're going to check for mites, which are going to look at little black spots that sometimes are different spots on the snake, but they like to congregate underneath the chin of the snake. My arm is getting tired. Holy crap. So they congregate under the chin of the snake and whatnot. So you want to check there for mites, and she's going to go up my sleeve, and no, she's going to fall. Okay. So you just want to check everything. Like if there's anything wrong with the snake, now's the time to bring it up with the breeder or the pet store if you're at a pet store. As this is important to bring up. The breeder can't work with you if you don't tell them what's wrong, or if you wait a month to tell them that something's wrong. They may not believe that the problem was pre-existing when you got the animal. So just something to keep in mind. This is the time to bring it up when you get the snake in to inspect it. You want to just make sure it's healthy. You're going to want to ask the breeder how the snake is, in which manner the snake is being fed. If it's being tongue fed, how it's being tongue fed. Like, is it eating aggressively, or if it's just kind of like you show up the mouth and it'll just like nom 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 immediately, because snakes do that too, and it's boring to watch them eat, but they'll eat that way sometimes with some snakes. So ask them how they're feeding. Ask if they need to be, if they've been feeding them in a small feeding dish, the way I have to do it sometimes if my snakes get picky. But you want to know in which manner the snakes are getting fed. You want to know if the mice are getting drained or not. You want to make sure that all that is, how in which manner the snake is getting fed. You want to know if just ask them how they're being fed. Like how do they feed those snakes? It seems like it's kind of a stupid question, but no, it isn't. It's not you showing lack of experience. It's you showing that, hey, every snake is different, and it depends on the breeder and how the snake is used to eating. So that's an important question to ask. So after you after you have all that information together and you got your snake in, when you go to put the snake in the enclosure, I'm just going to show you how to do this. So this one's been out long enough and she's ready to go back. You want to, I'm going to lift the lid up. There we go. Let's just put it down like that. Alright. You want to lower the snake down towards the water dish. And I always like try to dip them in a little bit because it shows them where the water dish is, and it gives them a chance to drink. Even if they don't drink, they'll see where the water dish is and whatnot. So she will be. I like to set the water dish in the corner, especially with younger snakes, so they can find it more easily because they'll find that's where they're gonna. They travel on the borders of the enclosures at night, so that's what you're going to want to do there to let the so it shows them what the water dish is, gives them a chance to rehydrate, especially if they've been shipped, and then you let them sit for a few days. Let them sit for 7 days. If you are experienced with snakes and you can tell that it's ready to start eating again, ready to eat, then go ahead and you can try feeding it as early as 3 days after you get it. I would recommend it because the worst thing that can happen is not the snake not eating. That's not the worst thing that can happen. The worst thing that can happen is the snake eats and then regurgitates. You don't want that because then you're getting started on the wrong foot and it's a lot of stress for you, and it's stress for the snake because dealing with regurgitations suck. Okay, so you get your snake in. So you're gonna let the snake rest for a week, ideally. You feed it on that 7th day. Offer it food. If it doesn't eat, fine. You can leave the mouse in the enclosure and let the snake eat it on its own. Generally, you might need to leave the room for the snake to feel comfortable doing this, or it might just tongue feed, depending on how the snake is used to being fed. I wouldn't push feeding in a dish initially because that can be just as stressful for the snake and just keep them from eating altogether. Like if your snake just some reason doesn't want to like save the dish for later when you need to, if you need to do a small feeding dish. So. But that's what I'd recommend is 7 days, feed, wait another 7 days. Like, don't, 2 weeks. 2 weeks, hands off. You feed the snake again 7 days after that. 7 or 6 days, depending on how old the snake is and whatnot. But you're going to want to give the snake 2 weeks to get used to the enclosure. At that point, after the second feeding, after the snake's pooped in the enclosure, because it's like marking his territory. I mean, the snakes don't mark territory, but it's something that reminds them of themselves in the enclosure, so it's great. After they've pooped, you then want to go ahead and not after they pooped, after they've been fed and they've had the 2 days to fully digest the meal, or 3 days, depending on how big the meal is and on the snake, but 2 or 3 days. Then you can take them out for the first time. Handle them for 5-10 minutes, and then put them back up. If the snake tags you, or if the snake tags you, or if it's just really wiggly, don't let that discourage you. Like, wait 10 minutes and then put it back. Next day, do 15 minutes at least. And generally around 15 minutes, the snake will calm down quite a bit and be much more willing to let you handle it. See, I'm going to get Alexstrasza out, and I can show you what that looks like, because Alexstrasza does not. Well, she's my rambunctious snake, and oh man, she's always fun to get out. I love getting out Alexstrasza, even though she'll surprise me oftenly the way she behaves. So let's just get the lid up out of the way. Alright, usually she's underneath this. Oh, is she in a hide? She's in a Lego hide? No, that's just a piece of aspen. Okay. Usually she's underneath this hide. There she is. So I'm gonna go ahead and pick her up. Simple. And of course I'm doing this one-handed when she's most likely to like spaz out and freaking dive away on me. So I'm gonna go ahead and sit down. Nice resting position. So, okay, she's not gonna. But it takes about 10 minutes for a snake, 15 minutes for a snake to calm down. So, at the 15-minute point, you know, it's gonna be better off that she's gonna be able to. That the snake's gonna be able to calm down, and you can handle it better. And at that point, you can put them back up because they got used to you, and they just need to get used to getting used to you. So, it's pretty simple on that, and at that point your snake's good to go. You can start doing then after a couple of days of doing the 15 minutes a day, you can switch to doing hour-long handling sessions. Just make sure you're not doing anything that's gonna like really bug the snake and whatnot. So now this is Alexstrasza. If I grabbed her around the neck, she probably wouldn't appreciate it very much, but you're gonna be good to go. So that's my guide for getting a new snake in the mail and whatnot. I know this was a longer video. It's already at 21 minutes, and I'll probably shave it down just a little bit here and there. But I would definitely take it easy and enjoy your new snake at that point. Thanks for listening. It's just yeah, just thanks for listening. Definitely like, subscribe, share this video for if you know anyone getting their first snake, because mistakes get made all the time.